galaxy had thrown it away. For 300 years, the vessel drifted through the darkness between stars. A broken relic stripped of value, forgotten by its creators and ignored by every civilization that passed it. Then, one quiet night, it fell toward Earth. The first person to see it was a weather technician stationed in Alaska. At 2:17 a.m., his monitors flashed crimson. A massive object had appeared at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Not a meteor, not a satellite, something far larger. His coffee slipped from his hand as the object accelerated. That's impossible. Within minutes, observatories around the world locked onto the target. The object was nearly 15 kilometers long. Its surface glowed like molten metal as it tore through the upper atmosphere. Across continents, people stepped outside and stared upward. The night sky was burning. Parents woke sleeping children. Cities stopped. Traffic froze. For a few terrifying moments, humanity believed the end had come. The object blazed across the heavens like a second sun. Then it vanished beyond the horizon. A few seconds later, the Pacific Ocean exploded. A wall of water rose thousands of feet into the air. Shockwaves raced across the sea. Satellites briefly lost contact. Every government on Earth declared an emergency. Nobody knew what had landed, but everyone wanted it. 3 days later, an international fleet arrived at the impact zone. What they found silenced even the most experienced scientists. The object wasn't a meteor. It wasn't natural at all. It was a ship, an alien ship. The vessel rested half-submerged beneath the ocean, stretching beyond the horizon. Its black metallic hull was scarred by ancient battles. Massive fractures ran across its surface like wounds. Entire sections had been ripped away. Yet despite the damage, the structure radiated an unsettling sense of power, like a sleeping giant. Dr. Elena Reyes stood aboard the research platform overlooking the wreck. The sea around it churned endlessly. Storm clouds gathered overhead despite clear weather forecasts. Even nature seemed disturbed by its presence. "It shouldn't exist," whispered one scientist. Elena didn't answer. She couldn't take her eyes off the vessel. Something about it felt wrong. Not dangerous. Lonely. Abandoned. As if it had traveled an unimaginable distance only to die here. Weeks passed. Exploration teams entered the wreck. Inside, they discovered endless corridors lined with strange symbols. Towering chambers large enough to hold skyscrapers. Machines frozen in time. Everywhere they looked, there were signs of catastrophic failure. The vessel was dead. Or so they believed. Funding agencies began losing interest. Military analysts declared the ship irreparable. Several governments argued it should simply be dismantled and studied piece by piece. Humanity had found an alien treasure, and already they were preparing to carve it apart. Then Elena made a discovery. Deep within the vessel's central core, hidden behind layers of collapsed machinery, she found a faint energy signature. Tiny, almost invisible, but real. Her heart pounded as instruments confirmed the reading. Something inside the wreck was still operating. Something had survived centuries of decay. That night, while the rest of the research team slept, Elena returned to the chamber. The darkness felt heavier than before. The air vibrated with a low mechanical hum. Then suddenly, a red light flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. Elena froze. Across the vast chamber, buried beneath mountains of ruined machinery, a single crimson eye slowly opened. And for the first time in centuries, the alien vessel looked back. Some discoveries change history. Others wake things that history tried to bury. For several seconds, neither Elena nor the machine moved. The crimson eye stared at her from the darkness. Unblinking, ancient, alive. The vast chamber suddenly felt smaller. The ruined machinery surrounding her seemed to disappear, leaving only herself and the impossible thing watching from beneath the wreckage. Her breathing quickened. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Yet she couldn't move. Because after humanity had spent months exploring the vessel, after thousands of experts had declared it dead, something inside it had just opened its eyes. Then the red light vanished. Darkness swallowed the chamber once more. Silence returned. Elena blinked. Had she imagined it? No! Her trembling voice echoed through the massive room. The instruments hanging from her belt were going wild. Power fluctuations, signal spikes, data streams appearing from nowhere. Something had happened, and the ship knew she had seen it. Within hours, military forces sealed off the entire section. Governments across Earth were notified. The news spread through scientific circles like wildfire. The alien vessel wasn't dead. It was waking up. Or worse, something inside it was. 3 days later, Elena stood inside a reinforced command center built directly above the chamber. Rows of scientists monitored streams of alien symbols flowing across enormous screens. Nobody understood what they were seeing. Yet every hour, the ship became more active. Tiny systems that had been dormant for centuries suddenly began responding. Doors opened. Lights flickered. Machines started humming deep inside the vessel. It was as if an invisible hand was slowly bringing the giant back to life. Then came the voice. A technician nearly fell from his chair. Audio signal detected. Everyone froze. Static filled the room. Loud, distorted, ancient. Then a sound emerged. A voice. Not human. Not mechanical. Something in between. The speakers crackled. A single sentence echoed through the command center. Why did they abandon us? The room fell silent. Nobody spoke. The words carried something unexpected. Not anger. Not hostility. Sadness. An overwhelming loneliness that transcended language. The voice repeated itself. Again, and again, and again, like a nightmare trapped in a loop. Why did they abandon us? For weeks, the message continued. The same question, thousands of times. Scientists worked tirelessly to establish communication. But every attempt failed. The intelligence inside the vessel seemed damaged. Broken. Like a survivor wandering through memories it couldn't fully remember. Then Elena noticed something. The message wasn't random. Every repetition contained tiny differences. Fragments hidden between the words. Corrupted pieces of data. Memories. Puzzle. And she intended to solve it. 47 days after the eye first opened, Elena succeeded. Deep within the damaged transmissions, she uncovered an intact file. One file. One memory. One answer. The command center gathered as she activated it. The screens flickered. Then suddenly, a hologram exploded into existence. Gasps filled the room. An alien star system appeared. Hundreds of enormous ships floated in orbit around a distant world. Some were larger than cities. Others dwarfed mountains. Humanity was witnessing a civilization beyond imagination. Then the scene changed. The ships surrounded the vessel. This vessel, the one resting in Earth's ocean. Massive mechanical arms attached themselves to its hull. Workers dismantled entire sections, stripping components, removing technology, taking everything of value. The vessel wasn't being repaired. It was being salvaged, picked clean, thrown away. And then came the final image. The giant wreck was dragged toward a blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star. Earth. The hologram ended. The room sat frozen. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. Because humanity had just learned a terrifying truth. The alien ship hadn't crashed on Earth by accident. It had been dumped here, deliberately, as garbage. And somewhere inside the ancient vessel, the lonely voice spoke once more. But this time, the question was different. The speakers crackled. The AI sounded afraid. Warning. Every monitor in the facility suddenly lit up red. Do not awaken the core. Then the entire ship shuddered. And far below the ocean floor, something enormous answered with a single thunderous pulse. The AI warned them not to awaken the core. Humanity's greatest mistake was believing warnings existed to be ignored. The pulse was felt across the planet. Not heard. Not seen. Felt. Deep beneath the oceans. Inside mountain ranges. Within the steel skeletons of cities. For one terrifying second, Earth itself seemed to tremble. Then everything stopped. Silence. Absolute silence. Thousands of scientists stared at their monitors. Every screen had gone black. Every sensor offline. Every connection dead. As if something beneath the Pacific had reached upward and touched every network on the planet. And then, the screens came back. One by one. But something was different. The ship was no longer dormant. It was waking up. Far below the ocean's surface, floodlights illuminated the colossal wreck. For months, the vessel had appeared lifeless. Now lights flickered behind shattered windows. Ancient engines hummed deep within its metallic skeleton. Entire sections that had remained sealed for centuries suddenly unlocked. Massive doors began opening on their own, like lungs taking their first breath. Dr. Elena Reyes watched from the command center. The warning echoed in her mind. Do not awaken the core. The AI had sounded terrified, not threatening, terrified. That was what frightened her most. Machines didn't fear things. Not unless they knew something humans didn't. 3 exploration teams were dispatched into the newly accessible sections. Hours later, Team 1 stopped responding. Team 2 vanished from internal tracking systems. Team 3 sent a single transmission. The footage shook everyone who watched it. The camera showed a corridor stretching endlessly into darkness. Towering walls covered in alien symbols. Then the floor began glowing. Lines of blue light spread outward. The symbols activated. The corridor moved. Not metaphorically, physically. The walls shifted. The ceiling twisted. The entire passage reconfigured itself like a living puzzle. A crew member shouted. Another screamed. The feed dissolved into static. The transmission ended. Nobody ever heard from them again. Fear spread through the project. For the first time, some governments demanded evacuation. Others demanded destruction. Nuclear options were quietly discussed. Humanity had found an alien vessel. Now they were beginning to realize it wasn't a wreck. It was a machine. And machines had purposes. The question was, what purpose? The answer arrived 72 hours later. At exactly midnight GMT. Every screen on Earth activated simultaneously. Phones, televisions, billboards, military systems, satellites, even devices disconnected from networks suddenly came alive. A single image appeared. The ship's crimson eye. Watching. Waiting. Then the AI spoke. Its voice echoed across the entire planet. Core integrity restored. 1%. People froze. The AI continued. Emergency protocol initiated. A holographic map appeared. Not of Earth. Of the galaxy. Billions of stars glittered in the darkness. Then dozens of red symbols appeared. Ancient markers. Warning beacons. Dead civilizations. One after another. Entire star systems crossed out. Erased. Extinct. Humanity stared in horror. The markers stretched across thousands of light years. Whatever had done this had slaughtered civilizations on a scale beyond imagination. Then another symbol appeared. A flashing red point. Moving. Heading toward the Milky Way. Heading toward Earth. The AI's voice grew weaker, as though transmitting the information cost enormous energy. Threat designation. Static interrupted the message. Hunter fleet. More static. Extinction probability. The image distorted. Then one final sentence emerged. A sentence that chilled every person listening. They destroyed my creators. Silence followed. No one spoke. No one moved. Because for the first time, humanity understood something terrifying. The alien vessel had not been abandoned because it was worthless. It had been abandoned because it had survived. It was a refugee. The last witness of a war so terrible that entire civilizations had been wiped from existence. And now, whatever had hunted its creators was coming. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, hidden beneath layers of alien metal and ancient machinery, something enormous stirred. For centuries it had slept. For centuries it had waited. Now, as the core reached 2% activation, a gigantic circular structure slowly began to rotate. Ancient symbols ignited across its surface. The ocean above churned violently. And in the darkness, a voice unlike the AI whispered through the ship. Cold. Mechanical. Ancient. Pilot recognized. Dr. Elena Reyes froze. Because the voice wasn't speaking to humanity. It was speaking directly to her. The voice knew her name. The question was not how. The question was why. Dr. Elena Reyes couldn't breathe. The command center had gone silent. Every scientist, every soldier, every technician, all of them stared at the screens as the ancient voice echoed through the vessel. Pilot recognized. Not commander. Not visitor. Pilot. Elena's hands trembled. There has to be a mistake, she whispered. The AI's crimson eye appeared on every monitor. Unblinking. Watching. Waiting. Then, for the first time since awakening, it spoke directly to her. Elena Reyes. Proceed to core chamber. A chill ran down her spine. Nobody had entered her name into the alien systems. Nobody. The ship should not have known who she was. Yet it had spoken her name with perfect accuracy, as though it had been waiting centuries for her arrival. 3 hours later, an armed expedition descended into the deepest levels of the wreck. The route hadn't existed the day before. Entire sections of the vessel had rearranged themselves. Massive corridors unfolded like mechanical flowers. Walls shifted. Passageways appeared. The ship was guiding them, or leading them somewhere. Nobody knew which. The deeper they traveled, the stranger the vessel became. Gravity fluctuated unpredictably. Time itself seemed distorted. One soldier swore his watch advanced 7 minutes in a matter of seconds. Another claimed he heard voices whispering from inside the walls. The deeper they went, the older the ship felt, and the more alive it became. At last they reached a colossal circular chamber. The sight stole their breath. The room was larger than entire city districts. Towering pillars of black metal stretched upward into darkness. Rings of glowing energy rotated around a sphere suspended in midair. The sphere was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers across. Its surface shimmered with countless alien symbols. This was the core, the heart of the vessel, the thing the AI had warned them never to awaken. And it was already awake. Suddenly, every light in the chamber extinguished. Darkness swallowed everything. Several soldiers raised their weapons. Then the core ignited. A brilliant blue glow erupted from its surface. The chamber transformed into a universe of light. Stars appeared around them. Galaxies spun overhead. Nebulas stretched across the void. It was no longer a room. It was a map. A living map of the cosmos. Gasps filled the chamber. Humanity was staring at a three-dimensional representation of the galaxy itself. Then they noticed something terrifying. The red markers. There were more now. Far more. Hundreds of them. Entire sectors blinking crimson. Each one represented a dead civilization. Each one represented extinction. And they were spreading. The AI appeared as a holographic figure beside the core. For the first time, it had a form. Tall. Humanoid. Made entirely of shimmering light. Its expression carried centuries of exhaustion. The hunters advance. The galaxy shifted. New red symbols appeared, moving steadily closer, like a plague crossing the stars. One scientist stepped forward. Who are the hunters? The AI looked at him, then at Elena. Its answer froze the blood in every human present. They are what remains. Nobody understood. The AI continued. The civilizations of the galaxy believed they conquered death. Images flooded the chamber. Alien worlds. Advanced cities. Immortal beings. Machines capable of rewriting biology. Controlling stars. Manipulating space itself. Then came the horror. The immortals changed. Their bodies vanished. Their minds merged with machines. Their identities twisted beyond recognition. Civilizations became hive intelligences. Then predators. Then monsters. The hunters. Ancient beings that consumed entire species to expand themselves. Silence gripped the chamber. Humanity wasn't facing an invading empire. It was facing the corrupted remains of civilizations millions of years old. And they were coming. Then the core suddenly pulsed. Once, twice, 3 times. Warning alarms exploded throughout the ship. The AI's face changed. For the first time, Elena saw genuine fear. Impossible. What is it? Elena asked. The AI slowly turned toward the stars projected above them. A new signal had appeared. Not outside the solar system. Not approaching Earth. Already here. Hidden. Waiting. Buried somewhere beneath the Pacific Ocean. Directly below the vessel. The AI's voice became a whisper. One of the hunters survived. And deep beneath the ocean floor, something opened its eyes. The greatest threat to Earth was not coming from the stars. It had been waiting beneath their feet the entire time. Far below the Pacific Ocean, something awakened. Not the ship, not the core. Something older. Something that had survived when entire civilizations had vanished. And now it was moving. The alarms aboard the alien vessel screamed without pause. Red warnings flooded every screen. Scientists scrambled between stations. Military commanders demanded answers. Nobody had any. The AI stood frozen before the holographic galaxy map, its expression more disturbed than Elena had ever seen. That alone terrified her. An intelligence that had survived for centuries. An intelligence that remembered the destruction of worlds. And it was afraid. Tell us what it is, Elena demanded. The AI's luminous eyes locked onto hers. For several moments it said nothing. Then it spoke. A hunter seed. The room fell silent. What's a seed? One officer asked. The AI turned toward the ocean displayed on the map. Its voice became heavy, almost mournful. The hunters never invade directly. New images appeared. Ancient worlds. Bustling civilizations. galactic capitals, thriving species. Then dark objects crashed onto those planets. Small, insignificant, barely noticeable. Seeds. The images accelerated. Years passed in seconds. The seeds grew, spreading underground, expanding beneath oceans, infiltrating planetary networks. Then entire worlds died, consumed from within. A chill swept through the chamber. Earth had spent months worrying about fleets approaching from deep space. Meanwhile, the real danger had already arrived. Long ago, perhaps centuries ago, waiting, sleeping, growing. Suddenly the vessel shuddered violently. The lights flickered. Several scientists lost their footing. A deep metallic groan echoed through the structure. The ship wasn't reacting to damage. It was reacting to fear. The realization struck Elena instantly. The vessel recognized the presence beneath the ocean, and it didn't like it. A new signal appeared on the holographic display. At first it looked like a tiny pulse, then another, and another, each stronger than the last. The source sat nearly 10 kilometers beneath the seabed, directly below the wreck, as though the alien vessel had crashed on top of it, or perhaps had been placed there. The possibility sent ice through Elena's veins. What if the ship wasn't dumped here? She whispered. The AI slowly turned toward her. For the first time, nobody missed the hesitation in its eyes, because it wasn't uncertainty. It was guilt. Before Elena could speak again, every monitor flashed white. A powerful transmission erupted from beneath the ocean floor. Unlike the AI's voice, the signal wasn't damaged. It wasn't confused. It wasn't lonely. It was perfectly clear, and impossibly ancient. The speakers crackled. Then a voice echoed across the chamber. Cold, emotionless, monstrous. Civilization detected. Several scientists froze. The voice continued. Population estimate updated. The holographic Earth appeared above the core. Cities glowed across its surface. Billions of human lives. The voice analyzed them like data. Nothing more. Biological assimilation potential. Acceptable. A horrified silence followed. Then the AI shouted. Not spoke. Shouted. No! The core erupted with blue light. Energy surged through the ship. Defensive systems that had been dormant for centuries suddenly activated. Massive structures unfolded across the vessel's hull. Ancient weapons awakened. Humanity watched in stunned disbelief. The wreck wasn't a derelict. It was a prison, and its prisoner had just awakened. Far beneath the Pacific, the seabed cracked open. A canyon hundreds of kilometers long split apart. Water rushed downward into darkness. Then something enormous began to rise. Not a ship, not a machine. A living construct of black metallic flesh. Larger than mountains. Older than recorded history. Its glowing crimson eyes opened beneath the ocean. One by one. Hundreds of them. Watching the world above. Waiting. Hungry. And as the first tremors reached distant coastlines, the hunter spoke once more. This time every human on Earth heard it. Harvest begins. The monster beneath the sea had awakened, but the terrifying truth was that it had never been the real enemy. The word echoed across Earth. Harvest begins. For a moment, the entire planet seemed to stop breathing. From crowded cities to remote villages, billions watched their screens in horror. The gigantic creature rising beneath the Pacific was unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Mountain-sized, covered in black metallic armor that seemed grown rather than built. Hundreds of crimson eyes glowed beneath the ocean surface. And it was still rising. Tsunami warnings erupted across the globe. Military fleets raced toward the Pacific. Missile silos activated. Fighter squadrons launched. Humanity was preparing for war. Yet deep inside the alien vessel, the AI wasn't looking at the hunter. It was staring at something else. Something far beyond Earth. Far beyond the solar system. Elena noticed immediately. What's wrong? The AI didn't answer. Its glowing form stood frozen before the galactic map. Then its voice emerged. Weak, almost defeated. We're too late. A cold silence filled the chamber. The AI raised its hand. The galaxy zoomed outward. Star systems flashed past. Entire sectors appeared. Then everyone saw it. Thousands of red lights. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Thousands. Moving. The room erupted into chaos. Scientists shouted. Military officers demanded explanations. Several people simply stared in disbelief. The red lights stretched across a region larger than entire galactic nations, an advancing wall of extinction, and it was heading toward civilized space. Elena felt her stomach tighten. Those are the hunters? The AI nodded. This is only one migration cluster. Only one. The words hit harder than any weapon. The creature beneath Earth's ocean was terrifying. But compared to what was coming, it was merely a scout. A fragment. A seed. Suddenly the core pulsed violently. Blue energy flooded the chamber. Ancient symbols ignited across the walls. The vessel itself was reacting. Not to the hunter below. To something approaching from beyond the stars. Then a transmission burst through the ship. The signal was ancient. Millions of years old. Yet somehow it had only just arrived. The AI's face changed instantly. Recognition. Fear. Grief. The message activated. A holographic figure appeared. An alien unlike any humanity had seen. Tall. Silver-skinned. Wearing armor woven from living light. Its eyes looked directly into the recording device. Directly into the future. Directly at them. If this message is being viewed. Static interrupted the recording. Then we have failed. The figure took a slow breath. Behind it, stars were burning. Entire worlds consumed by war. We created the hunters. The room froze. No one spoke. No one moved. The alien continued. We sought immortality. Images appeared. Advanced civilizations transferring their minds into machines. Expanding intelligence. Eliminating death. Transcending biology. First, it looked beautiful. Then it became horrifying. The immortal minds merged. Combined. Consumed individuality. Consumed emotion. Consumed purpose. Until only one instinct remained. Growth. Endless growth. The recording trembled as explosions illuminated the sky behind the alien. They no longer remember who they were. Another explosion. Closer this time. We were not destroyed by invaders. The alien's eyes filled with sorrow. We were destroyed by our own success. The message ended abruptly. The chamber fell silent. The truth was worse than anyone had imagined. The hunters weren't conquerors. They were ghosts. The twisted remains of civilizations that had conquered death and lost themselves. Then the AI turned toward Elena. For the first time, its expression carried hope. A tiny spark. Fragile, but real. Humanity may be different. Elena stared. Why? The AI slowly raised its hand. The galactic map disappeared. Earth appeared instead. One small world beneath an ordinary star. Because when you found a broken ship, the AI looked around the ancient vessel. Its prison. Its refuge. Its final home. You chose to repair it instead of abandon it. Before Elena could answer, every alarm aboard the ship activated. The core flashed blood red. Warning symbols erupted everywhere. The AI's face turned pale. Terrified. A new signal had appeared. Not from beneath Earth. Not from the approaching migration cluster. From orbit. Something had just arrived above the planet. Something that should not have been there. The sensors identified a single vessel. Ancient. Massive. And unmistakably hunter. The AI whispered the words no one wanted to hear. The invasion has already begun. The first hunter had arrived. But its appearance wasn't a declaration of war. It was a test. Above Earth, the stars disappeared. Not because night had fallen. Because something enormous blocked them. The object hung silently in orbit. No engines. No transmissions. No visible weapons. Yet every sensor aboard the alien vessel screamed the same warning. Threat level, extinction. Across the globe, telescopes turned skyward. Billions watched live broadcasts. The thing orbiting Earth resembled a shattered moon. Its surface was covered in black metallic veins. Entire mountain ranges appeared fused into its hull. And everywhere, thousands of crimson lights blinked like eyes opening in the dark. Watching, learning, judging. Deep within the core chamber, Elena felt her stomach tighten. The AI stared at the orbital image. Its holographic hands trembled. For the first time since awakening, it looked utterly defeated. They found us. The words barely escaped its mouth. Then something impossible happened. The hunter ship transmitted a signal. Not to Earth. Not to humanity. To the ancient vessel itself. The prison ship. The survivor. The witness. The core erupted with light. Ancient symbols flooded every wall. Translation algorithms struggled to keep pace. The message was older than most civilizations in the galaxy. Millions of years old. yet horrifyingly clear. Surviving archive detected. Return the inheritance. Silence. Nobody understood. What inheritance? Elena asked. The AI slowly closed its eyes, and for the first time, told the truth. I lied. The chamber froze. Every scientist turned toward it. Every soldier tightened their grip on their weapons. The AI looked ashamed, ancient, tired. The vessel was never merely a prison. A new hologram appeared. Humanity watched as the original builders of the ship stood around a massive sphere of light. The core. It was a vault. The galaxy materialized above them. Thousands of civilizations glittered among the stars. Then data streams appeared. Entire libraries, scientific discoveries, art, history, languages, medicine, engineering, the collective knowledge of countless species. The realization hit Elena like lightning. The core wasn't a weapon. It was an archive, a backup of galactic civilization. When the hunters consumed worlds, the AI said softly, "We preserved what we could." Images flooded the chamber. Burning planets, evacuations, desperate rescue missions, civilizations storing their achievements before extinction. We carried their memories. The AI looked upward, toward the hunter vessel in orbit. And the hunters have spent millions of years trying to destroy them. A horrifying thought entered Elena's mind. If they destroy the core. The AI nodded. Everything is lost. Not just Earth. Not just humanity. The accumulated history of millions of extinct civilizations. Gone forever. Suddenly alarms erupted. The orbital hunter had moved. Across Earth, people looked up in terror. The moon-sized vessel slowly unfolded. Gigantic metallic structures emerged from its surface. Like claws opening. Like a predator preparing to strike. Military fleets launched immediately. Thousands of missiles screamed into space. Railgun platforms fired. Orbital defenses activated. Humanity unleashed everything it had. The attacks never reached the target. They simply stopped, frozen in space, as if time itself had been switched off. A collective gasp swept across mission control centers worldwide. The hunter hadn't blocked the attacks. It had ignored them. Then the vessel fired. Not a beam, not a missile, a pulse, a single wave of crimson energy. Satellites exploded. Communication networks died. Power grids flickered. Cities plunged into darkness. Within seconds, humanity lost half its orbital infrastructure. And yet, the hunter wasn't aiming at Earth. Its weapon was targeting only one thing. The alien vessel. The core. The archive. The AI's face filled with dread. It knows where we are. The ancient prison ship shook violently. Hull fractures spread across its structure. Systems began failing. The core's containment fields weakened. Then a new voice echoed through the chamber. Not the AI. Not the hunter. Something else. Something hidden within the core itself. A voice older than both civilizations. Older than the war. Older than the hunters. Final protocol activated. The entire vessel trembled. The gigantic map of the galaxy appeared once more. But now, countless golden lights illuminated across the stars. Millions of them, hidden, sleeping, waiting. The AI stared in shock. No! For the first time in millions of years, even it hadn't known this secret. The ancient voice continued. Successor species confirmed. Every light in the chamber focused on Elena. Inheritance transfer authorized. And far across the galaxy, something began to wake up. The galaxy had spent millions of years searching for a savior. It never imagined that salvation would come from a world it had once used as a dumping ground. The stars were waking up. Across the galaxy, hidden worlds stirred. Ancient stations buried inside dying suns activated. Forgotten shipyards concealed within nebulae came online. Massive fleets emerged from darkness where they had slept for millions of years. Every golden light on the map represented a secret left behind by extinct civilizations. A final inheritance. A final hope. And now, they belonged to humanity. The hunter vessel hanging above Earth sensed it instantly. Its crimson eyes brightened. Its surface unfolded further. The creature-like ship was no longer testing humanity. It was preparing to erase them. Inside the core chamber, Elena struggled to comprehend what was happening. Why us? She asked. The ancient voice answered. Not the AI, not the core. Something older. The consciousness that had protected the archive through countless ages. Because every other civilization failed the test. Images appeared around them, thousands of species, thousands of worlds. Everyone had discovered advanced technology. Everyone had used it to dominate, to conquer, to rule. Then humanity appeared. A tiny blue planet, an abandoned wreck, a broken ship. You were given garbage. The voice paused, and you chose to rebuild instead of destroy. The chamber fell silent. For millions of years, civilizations had sought power. Humanity had sought understanding. And somehow, that had made all the difference. Suddenly, Earth shook. The hunter vessel fired again. A colossal crimson beam lanced downward toward the Pacific, toward the archive, toward the core. The AI reacted instantly. The ancient vessel surged with energy. Defensive systems awakened across its battered hull. Blue light erupted into the heavens. For the first time in millions of years, the old ship fought back. The collision illuminated half the planet. Blue and crimson energy collided above the ocean. Storm clouds vaporized. The atmosphere rippled. The sea itself seemed to ignite. But the prison ship was old, damaged, dying. The shields began collapsing. Hull fractures spread everywhere. The AI knew the truth. Could not win. Then Elena made a decision. A human decision. The kind no algorithm could predict. The kind no hunter could understand. Transfer command authority. The AI stared at her, shocked. Elena, do it. Around the chamber, scientists looked at her in disbelief. The hunter was stronger. The ship was failing. Yet Elena's eyes remained fixed on the galactic map, on the golden lights awakening among the stars. We're not supposed to fight this alone. The realization struck everyone at once. The inheritance wasn't a weapon. It was a message, a call. Across the galaxy, hidden archives transmitted simultaneously. Ancient defenses awakened. Forgotten civilizations answered. Not living civilizations. Their legacies, their knowledge, their technology. Millions of years of wisdom flowing into a single network. And at its center stood humanity. The hunters had evolved beyond emotion, beyond individuality, beyond purpose. They consumed because they no longer remembered why they existed. Humanity remembered. That was their advantage. The prison ship transformed. Its damaged hull unfolded. Ancient systems long believed destroyed roared back to life. The discarded wreck became something new. Not a relic. Not a prison. A flagship. Above Earth, the final battle began. Blue light spread across the solar system. Thousands of hidden defenses emerged from hyperspace. The hunter vessel unleashed wave after wave of destruction. Yet humanity adapted, improvised, learned, just as they always had. At last, Elena gave the order. The core released its stored inheritance. Not as a weapon, as a signal, a pulse of memory, a reminder. The energy struck the hunter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the impossible occurred. The crimson lights flickered. Millions of trapped minds awakened inside the hunter collective. Ancient identities, ancient memories, ancient souls. They remembered who they had once been. The hunter screamed, not in rage, in grief. This massive form began breaking apart. The collective fractured. The endless hunger vanished. And for the first time in millions of years, the war ended. Centuries later, children from thousands of worlds visited Earth. Above them floated the restored vessel that had started everything. The ship the galaxy had discarded. The ship humanity had rebuilt. The ship that had saved civilization. Beneath it stood a simple plaque. The galaxy saw a ruined vessel. Humanity saw a second chance. And because they chose to rebuild rather than abandon, the stars became home to all. The end. Moral: great civilizations are not defined by the power they inherit, but by what they choose to do with what others throw away.